World famous Britannia Pier. So, oh, look at this, look, Betfred. I think it's opening soon. Istanbul Kebab House. This country will find a way to milk you dry. Bedding here. Because everyone is earning their money in the UK, taking it out of the country and spending it in other countries. I mean, it works. But with the influx of immigration, which is a very touchy subject right now. That's a nice building, isn't it? Wow. But if you came here on a boat illegally and you have 3 kids, then you're getting more priority than someone born here. Good morning. Today we're in Great Yarmouth, which is a very popular seaside destination in the UK on the east coast. In this video we'll be having a looking around the city, and we'll be talking about why people don't really go on vacation or holiday anymore in their own country, why it's often cheaper to fly all the way to Spain, Italy, Greece and have a very warm summer holiday there instead, leaving towns like this in disrepair. So join me on a journey as we look around this once famed seaside resort and have a little look around, see what it's like. Okay, see you in a minute. So I've been living outside of the UK for around 10 years here, and I grew up mainly in the 90s, the early 90s, the mid 90s. So I had a good chance to see all kinds of the situation, you know. Growing up in the 90s, we would go to popular seaside destinations such as Great Yarmouth here, Skegness, Bournemouth, all different places. And back then, international travel was considered quite expensive. You would have to have quite a lot of money to get on an aeroplane, for example, and go to Spain, go to all these places. This was before the era of Ryanair and the 10, 20 euro flights round trip to all these different islands, Ibiza, all places like that. And what was commonplace was you get your kids and family together, or maybe your mates or something like that, and you take a train down to the seaside, maybe for a day trip if you're local enough, maybe even for a week or just a weekend, something like that. And in the summer it would be bustling. You could barely move on the beach. If you look at old photos of beaches, you could barely move. And even in the 90s it was quite busy as well. But when the 2000s kind of came along, there was a lot going on. Now, there was the sort of birth of the modern era of very cheap international travel. But there were also things like, the recession, all these little mini events that gave people an excuse to raise the prices, but also potentially think about saving money as well. Not only that, energy bill prices creep up, and people seem to have less money for the inflation which is happening as well. Not only that, the gambling here and the culture around gambling isn't as strong as it used to be. So a lot of those 90s kids that grew up with 2p machines and sneaking away and putting a few quid in a fruit machine, well, they're a bit older now, and when they're younger, you know, they put in all their money in the arcades, but it sort of plants a seed for when you become older, you start gambling, you start trying to chase that high. So if we walk around the town right now, what you're going to see is a lot of gambling shops, a lot of buckies, a lot of places where people will get their money, perhaps off the government, like a government check, and then instantly spend it in a gambling hole. It is very common here, and this is why those types of places are succeeding, when places like the Royal Hotel, for example, are falling in disrepair. And which is a shame, because I'm about to show you a little history on the Royal Hotel. Now, maybe you've never heard of the Royal Hotel. It's a very famous hotel. It sits on the seafront here of Great Yarmouth. But if we come a little closer here, look at this, look. Charles Dickens stayed at the Royal Hotel in 1848 while engaged in writing the novel David Copperfield. If you've never heard of David Copperfield, I'm sure you've heard of Charles Dickens. It's a book he wrote sort of about himself, really. It goes through kind of his life. It's a very amazing book. And to think he once stayed in this hotel. Wow, look at that. It even has the old turning style door. While writing that novel all these hundreds of years ago, it makes you think. What a place to stay. It attracts the rich and famous. They get a nice little sea view while writing their novel. You probably sat in one of those windows up there, look. Maybe in that window right there while writing it. It's quite amazing, isn't it? And even today, look at this. And I don't even think it's in business anymore. Like the paintwork is pretty bad. I haven't seen it open in these last few days. I might be wrong. Maybe they're struggling and they just don't want to fix anything at all. I mean, there's a hole in the curtain. I kind of get the feeling it didn't survive the Rona, but I'm really not sure. I'm speculating. I don't know much about Great Yarmouth at all. All I know is I travel to lots of different countries and towns and draw conclusions and assumptions based on experience. Maybe it's in business, but I doubt it. But we'll see. But it's not only that place there. It's all different places here. Look, you can see this is missing lettering here. This one's hanging off the wall. But maybe it is. Maybe it's the case where everyone is struggling and they can't afford the maintenance and essential repairs. Maybe everyone's standards have slightly lowered now. Maybe that's the acceptable thing to accept from a typical UK destination. Who knows? But this is the main seafront. You have a lot of video game arcades down here. You have the marina with a swimming pool. And even the Great Yarmouth Eye. Look at that. It's alright, isn't it? And they've got a sea life centre there as well. But even the Sea Life Centre, a lot of these places are only open in the summer. So if you want to run a business here and survive, you need to get all your income in the summer. Because when the autumn and winter hit, everything is closed. And almost everything. Maybe a few cafes might be open. But even the Sea Life Centre there, right now, we're coming into summer and it's still closed. And if it's not closed permanently, that leads me to believe that someone comes in and feeds the animals or ship them off somewhere and bring them back for the summer or something like that. I'm really not sure. Showboat here, an arcade. I'm not sure if that's closed. It looks like it could be. Wow. But another thing I noticed as well, which really doesn't help, is we had a lot of government parking in the UK. This will be in towns, cities, seaside destinations. And what happened is a lot of private entities bought out or took control of these parking spaces. So if you want to put money into your local town and not shop on Amazon or eBay, you have to pay to park your car. It is very common here. And even on the seafront here. And what a lot of people do, they'll sit at home and think, oh, let's go to town and do some shopping. But the thing is, then you got to pay for parking, you got to drive to town. There's all these different things. Where now the commonplace is to just order it on Amazon, order it on online or something like that. A big chain who has a website that supports online shopping. So now putting money into small businesses is a little harder than it used to be, and it's sort of one of those hurdles is parking, and all this money goes into these private companies. So what you'll see here is parking industries thriving very well. Chain companies where people can get their groceries, Asda, Tesco, Sainsbury's, all succeeding very well. And Wetherspoons, places like chain pubs, where it's very easy to get a cheap bite to eat or a cheap drink because they buy these things in bulk and also make them cheaply as well, which a lot of small businesses can't do. So we're under the main Britannia pier right now, and yeah, we have a lot of people living under these piers sometimes. A little mattress here, little shopping cart. I think I saw a tent under one of them. Okay, we're at the other pier now, Wellington Pier. Look at this. So already we've found a betting shop and we're, I don't know, 20, 30 meters from the sea. Look at the opening hours on this, 10 till 9. And a lot of the fish and chips have disappeared as well. Now, I haven't been on a British holiday for a long time, but we never had really fried chicken and Milano kebab and pizza. It just wasn't really a thing. It would be always like fish and chips and, you know, kind of more British traditional junk food rather than Turkish or Eastern European junk food. It's just a bit of an observation, but a surprise. And there's some fried chicken shops on the seafront as well, which is very surprising. But when you think about it, it's really not that surprising, because people who run these businesses, they're willing to work long hours for a cheaper amount of money and get established. So they're the ones dealing with all the drunk crowds that are wanting food at 11, midnight, maybe even 1 in the morning. So they're putting the effort in, dealing with these, people with short tempers, absolutely drunk. And they're the ones that seem to get rewarded. And if you go in many convenience stores here, most of them are internationally run by people with different heritage than being British. You don't really see any British business owners in the sense of running a fish and chip shop or a convenience store very often at all. It is very, very rare. And you can maybe even tell by the names of some of them too. Romania, Turkish barbers. It's if you were alive 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago, it is almost black and white what you see today. And in a sense, it's a good thing. You can learn about other cultures and everything. But on the flip side, it is not what it used to be. Very, very different in every respect. Wow. Oh wow, someone wasn't happy, were they? Oof. Speaking of Turkish barbers just there. Yeah, and they can even make a lot more money doing that, which happens a lot more often than you think. We shall fight on the beaches, we shall fight on the landing grounds. We will fight in the fields or in the streets. We will fight in the hills, but we will never surrender. I bet a lot of people can't even name the person who said that. The person that once saved this country from a foreign aggressor. Talking about beaches. It's actually quite a nice beach. Very big beach. There's 2 piers here. There's Wellington Pier over there, which eventually leads to Galston-on-Sea, another little seaside town. And up here there's another pier, Britannia Pier, which is actually under quite a lot of construction. We're just heading over there now. There is a lot of people living under the pier, and eventually if you go north, that will lead to Hemsby, another little seaside town full of little holiday parks. So there's a lot going on the east coast. It goes all the way from Hunstanton all the way around the little Nobble, eventually getting down to Felixstowe, Southend. A lot of history here, as you saw in a lot of the buildings. A lot of famous people stayed here. A lot of people frequent holidays here. But now, it's somewhat of a ghost town. Oh, here it is, the famous Britannia Pier. Look at this. Well, they're doing a little construction right now, but I'm sure they'll have things back to ship shape soon, perhaps. So I'm going to walk around the front of Britannia Pier, then we're going to have a little look through the town so you can see what Great Yarmouth town is like. But the beach, like I say, is a very nice beach. Look how wide it is. The water's a little bit brown, I'm not going to lie, but I think that's due to the sand flicking up. But when the tide is quite far out, it's nice and blue. A little cold, but it's okay. Well, it's not even 8 a.m. yet. We're still under 8 a.m. They've already started drinking. Maybe they haven't stopped drinking, who knows. World famous Britannia Pier in Great Yarmouth. So here's the Britannia Pier here. Looks like they're doing a little bit of work. But it's interesting they didn't do that over the winter, but we do have bad weather here. Maybe there's a reason, I'm not sure, but looks like they're fixing things up anyway. So across the road from Britannia Pier is the main town of Great Yarmouth. There it is right there. We're going to have a little walk around there and see what's going on. We've got some coaches arriving there, bringing all the oldies out from their local towns and villages to the seaside. Now the oldies love a British holiday. They love the memory of visiting Scarborough, Great Yarmouth. It reminds them of, when they were younger, perhaps, something like that. So a lot of these seaside destinations are propped up by a lot of oldies. If you go down to Eastbourne, for example, it's full of old people. They're almost keeping the industry alive by themselves, staying in local hotels, bed and breakfasts, and contributing to the area, the local council, and everything else. But here is the town. Look at this. I'm going to assume that these aren't Christmas decorations that have been left up 4 or 5 months after the fact. I did see a Christmas pantomime advertisement on the way into the town that was still there, so definitely no excuses on that one. But I think this could be just some generic lighting, but don't quote me on that. So right now it's quite early. So I've been quite fortunate to travel to a lot of places, and there's some interesting things I noticed. When living in America, for example, if you say something bad about America to someone living in a southern state, maybe Texas or something like that, they're not having any of it. Their country is number one, Like, these are the people that maybe when they were younger had to sing the national anthem at school every single day. It's programmed into their mind. America's number one. It's the greatest. Maybe I don't have a passport and I've never traveled, but it's the greatest. But it is something you see emulated in other countries as well. So if you take a Peruvian out of Peru and you mention the word Peru, their head will be like this. Peruvian food is the best. Peru number one. But just because they have like a love for their country. So, look at this, look, Betfred. I think it's opening soon. So yeah, Bucky's opening soon. We can start gambling again. Their country is number one because they grew up to respect their country. It's a big thing on respect to do. However, to contrast, you don't see that too much anymore, only with the football. So if England are in the World Cup or something like that, then England number one. England are going to win because it's the football. They want to beat the other people. But in terms of, is England a nice place to live? What do you think of your country? What do you think of your town? The answer you will almost always hear is, it's shit. You find any video on YouTube, someone asking honestly a British person about the quality of their town, city or country, usually it's negative. I'd say 9 times out of 10. But as someone who grew up here and lived here, and it is a bit of a weird phenomenon. Oh, look at this. Istanbul Kebab House. King Asia. Yeah. And Mandarin House. Look. So yeah, all in the centre of town. So right now it's quite early, not much going on. You got the dog walkers out. Everything's pretty much closed. So it's quite quiet in Old Yarmouth in the morning. Nighttime it's a little bit different. It's very busy, all the lights are on. So there's a shop behind me. They sell burgers and hot dogs for £1 each. They're pretty much propping up the Great Yarmouth community. $1. What am I talking about? £1 burgers and hot dogs over there. Very cheap. Now there's some old school prices, because if you want to buy a burger or a hot dog now, you're looking at, I think I saw £8 in one restaurant, but to be fair, they're more like around 5 or 6. And that's just because there is a lot of fees associated. I saw this guy who sells a £6 jacket potato. The potato is worth 40p. The cheese is like £1.20. The butter is like 20. The fork is like 5. The wages, the power, and everything adds up, and it comes over like £4 for one jacket potato. And you think, oh, okay, yeah, that is why they sell for 6. Well, look at this. Wow. I wonder what that was once upon a time. Maybe a theatre. The little faces outside there. I mean, right now it looks like it was a gift store, but even that's closed now. It couldn't survive. But one thing you'll always see thriving in Great Yarmouth is the casinos. Look at that. Immaculate condition, new. And that comes down to the next point I'm trying to make is people have given up. They've given up on their town. They've given up on their country. Imagine what it was like during World War I, World War II. You're fighting for your country. I can't even imagine that now. I think everyone would leave and leave leave everyone else behind. All the people that came here afterwards would be the only ones here protecting their shops and Turkish barbers. I think everyone would be going away to Spain, or Thailand is a popular one as well. People have given up completely. So the tourism industry died here. We talked about it at the start of the video. But there hasn't been a real effort in replacing that, you know. Like if a fishing industry dies, then, oh, well, what do we do now, you know? No idea. Let's get some government money, because that's the easiest thing to do. And then we'll think about it. And then a few years later, you sort of lose the motivation and will. What's the point? Why even bother? This country's shit anyway. You hear a lot of excuses living in this country. And this is part of the reason why a lot of people will succeed internationally. They'll come over from Turkey, open a kebabbery, a Turkish barbers. They're putting the hours in. They haven't given up. They're succeeding. You can look at all the shops around you. All the shops around you. You will see that for yourself. You just need to be here to see it. You have some people trying hard, like look, Steve's Pick and Mix. He's probably working his ass off to pay his expensive power bill, his rent. It's absolutely insane, the amount of tax you have to pay in this country, which is part of the reason I left in the first place. It is a tax hole. This country will find a way to milk you dry. And living in America for 10 years, it's true. You work in America, if a bailiff comes into your house, I usually watch the Debt Collectors TV show. It's really good, actually. And some people don't have £200 to give the bailiffs who are going to take their possessions away, even though they own a 3-bedroom house and a business. People don't have very extra expendable income. And when they do, usually it goes on treats like Netflix, a beer here and there, a trip to the local Weatherspoons, which always does quite well in every town. And that's it. In America, you have a lot of extra income to do what you want with. Look at this, look. We have Paddy Power betting shop, vaping, that's just a whole nother thing, vaping. Coral betting on Fishalicious. Let's see how much the fish and chips cost now. When I was a kid, it was 90p, but I appreciate that was a long time ago. Look. £8.50 for a beef burger, that's over $10. Fish and chips. But this isn't a chain, it's just one business. But a little expensive, I think. I mean, this is crazy, really. In my town in the center of the country, you're looking at less than half the price of that. But rent is probably higher here, bills are higher here. There's a lot of things that are factored into that. And coupled with the fact, people don't have too much money. Your business doesn't have much chance of succeeding unless you have a gambling shop. Now that comes into the thing where people have given up a little bit. They've given up on their country, given up on everything. So what they want to do is go to a gambling shop, and they think they're going to win. They think that's the answer to everything. I'm going to go to the gambling shop, I'm going to win big, and I'm going to get out of this dump. I think that's the logic anyway. But the gambling shops are the things doing really well. The gambling shops, the coffee shops, Greg's, chains like Weatherspoons, supermarkets, and yeah, that's pretty much it. And talking to casinos, here's another one, Mercure Slots. Wow. I think even the Comfort Inn didn't survive. Wow, that's actually quite impressive. I mean, if it is in business, then there's going to be a lot of birds up there. Wow, it's worse than I thought. It's funny, when I moved to America 10 years ago and I saw Death Row and all those places, I took a bus to Los Angeles, and the bus stop was horrendous. I was just in a road with all these tents. And I was telling my friends, oh, you never see that in the UK. Everyone has a safety net. Everyone can get a house. Everyone can get government money. But with the influx of immigration, which is a very touchy subject right now, local people born here are struggling to get a government house. And it's touchy because a lot of people abuse the system. They don't deserve a government house, but it's hard to filter out the ones that do, people with families. If you have a family, you move up the list, so you have a better chance of getting a house. But if you're a single man, especially with a dog, for example, then you're at the bottom of the list. You almost have no chance of getting a council house, for example. And that's sort of the way it works. It works on priority. But if you came here on a boat illegally and you have 3 kids, then you're getting more priority than someone born here with a dog, for example. So that's just how it works. Here we've got pawn shops here, vape shops, Turkish shawarma. Usually you get a row of people sitting down there waiting for their money. Little bedding here. It's absolutely crazy. Like, if you were here 20 years ago, you'd be like, oh my god, what has happened to Great Yarmouth? It is changed. But one thing you'll notice is a lot of people living in the tents, like behind me, they look British, they look like they're from the UK. What's going on there? Well, they're the people that have given up. They're like, fuck this, I can't get a job here anymore, tourism's all gone, I don't want to go to college, I don't want to get an education, I'm just going to get some beers, hit the casino, and fuck it, you know. That's the attitude you'll see. But when the football's on, they'll be down the pub cheering on. And that's it, really. So this has been look at this, wow, little new area, got a little statue here of a man. A boarded up building there, not sure what it is. Yeah, but it's so sad when you see a building with a sign like, oh, Charles Dickens did this here, or someone stayed here, and it's just peeling with paint. They just can't possibly pay the rent or the bills because, oh, what is going on here? I was in here yesterday, but now it's, I don't know. They can't possibly pay their bills, it's too high because the tourism industry is dying, because everyone is earning their money in the UK, taking it out of the country and spending it in other countries. Wow, what on earth? I mean, like I say, wherever you go, whichever street you turn on, there's an abandoned building. It's so sad. Well, I remember having memories of a kid, you know, I'd go on holiday, everything was happy, and everyone was selling sweets and candy, and you could go fishing, trampolining, and now you'd be lucky if the trampoline even works. There's probably a hole in it, and then they'd still want money. So yeah, it's a big surprise, put it that way. I wasn't even going to make a video this trip. I'm only here for 3 days, and I was looking around, and I guess the disappointment got too strong. I don't know. But, yeah, look, balconies. Balkans Cafe. Even the Balkans are striving here. Yes. It's funny, really. I love that area though, but it is funny to see Eastern European people opening businesses and succeeding, because they're putting the effort in, you know, they're succeeding, and that's what it is. But wow. Yeah, so I'm going to show you a couple of old buildings and we're going to talk about wrapping up the video, but I'll leave you with some questions. Now, everything I've said in the video is opinion, what I've seen in different countries, attitudes I've compared, destinations I'm comparing. A lot of people that will get offended are people who don't travel. They don't know the world. They don't know the people. They haven't thought about life. Maybe they've given up. Maybe they're something else. So you do have to think about these things before making a comment, you know. Are you making your comment based out of disagreement, hatred, or are you making it based out on experience? But I want to sort of target those people who have actually thought about this, been to different destinations, lived different generations. How does this compare to when you were younger? How was somewhere like Great Yarmouth in the 50s? I'm not that old, but maybe you are. Maybe you can tell me. Maybe it was even better. But right now, the cost of this trip, we've come on a 3-day holiday. The petrol money was around £70. I've come from the centre of the country, £70 round trip. The hotel was £60 a night. I'll show you the hotel at the end of the video. The hotel looks like it's come out the 70s or 80s, run by an Indian man. His restaurant had to close down because he's not got enough people. His bar had to close down, not enough people. It's in disrepair. It looks like it's straight out of the 70s. It's really weird. But that was £60 a night, so that's 3 nights. You know, I probably spent almost £500, and I can get a round-trip flight to Spain for £30. My hotel would maybe be 20 to 25 a night, and you know, I'm already less than half of what I spent here, so there is that to think about. You know, this is why people do it, but it takes a lot of people to band together and do something to make change. That's not going to happen. People are inherently selfish, so it's only going to get worse. But let's enjoy it while we can. Now for me, I mean, I'm playing devil's advocate here. I don't mind coming to these destinations. It reminds me of when I was younger. You know, there's simpler times. You can see certain things. You see a lot of homeless people and people begging. It's annoying, but it is what it is. That's the world we live in, and me complaining about it isn't going to change anything. This is an old hospital. Look at this. Let's have a little look. So you can see some of the history here, which is just pretty much hanging on by a thread, you know. What happens if less and less people come here? What happens if less and less people donate to old funds and, you know, historical buildings like this? We're going to be living in a world of Greggs and KFC, and what I see a lot of now is American candy stores. When I went to America, I thought American candy was crap. I used to ship Cadbury's chocolate and British snacks to America. I'd pay 3 times the price. So why people want to pay 3 or 4 times the price to eat some Nerds and Twizzlers here, it is beyond me. I don't understand it at all, but I think it's linked to why McDonald's is really busy, because it's cool, it's trendy, it's the thing to do. And that's it, really. It's cool to hate on your country. It's cool to think your town sucks, but you are responsible for fixing that. If you don't like where you live, why don't you make a change? You know, in my local town, if I see a hole in the road and it annoys me every day, I go out and buy a tub of that pothole filler. I go out at 2 in the morning and I fix it. I'm not even joking, because that's how I am. But I appreciate that I am a special case, and I wish there was more special cases out there that would just take 10 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour out of their day just to make something better. So let me show you our hotel real quick. We are at the St. George's Hotel. I wish I could show you a different one, but well, I can't get in, I guess. This is the St. George's Hotel. Oh, wow. Oh, here's the room. It's not too bad actually. The room is quite modern, way more modern than the sort of reception. We've got a microwave, fridge. Look out the window. Well, there's where we were before. Look at that. You can see Wellington Pier. It's alright, isn't it? Wow. So yeah, the room's quite modern, but the hotel, very old. It's almost like you're stepping out of the 70s or something like that. But yeah, it's quite interesting. I've got an old fireplace. Look at that. The lobby. Stephen, what are you doing, Stephen? And that's it really. That's Great Yarmouth. So if I find anything else, I'll show you. If I don't, what do you think of Great Yarmouth? A typical British seaside town in 2025. So I hope you enjoyed Great Yarmouth. I'll see you guys in another video coming soon. Take care. Told you the beach was nice.